Every single day, more than 17,000 meals are cooked on a ship the size of a small city. The crew never sees a restaurant, never orders takeout, and on Thanksgiving, they sit down to a feast that most families back home could not pull off. 3,000 pounds of turkey, 4,500 pounds of sweet potatoes, 23,678 pies, all of it made in the middle of the ocean by sailors who have not seen their families in months. This is what 5,000 Americans do to make sure that even at sea, home never feels too far away. And here is the part most people never hear about: the weeks of planning, the early morning runs on a flight deck the length of 3 football fields, the soundproof phone, booths where a son calls his mother for the first time in months, and the one holiday tradition that every sailor looks forward to more than any other. We are going to cover all of it. Stay with us. Introduction. This is how 5,000 sailors celebrate holidays like Thanksgiving on an aircraft carrier. And if you have ever wondered what it truly feels like to serve this country far from home during the holidays, this story will stay with you. Before we get into it, if you are proud of the men and women who serve this country, type "proud" in the comments below. Let them know they are not forgotten. The ship is a city. Most people think of an aircraft carrier as a weapons platform, a machine of war. And yes, it is that. But what most people never stop to realize is that an aircraft carrier is also a home. A fully functioning, self-contained city that floats on the open ocean. It has its own hospital, its own barbershops, its own post office, its own chapel, its own gym, and yes, its own restaurants. Except on a carrier, they do not call them restaurants. They call them galleys. The USS Harry S. Truman, one of the U.S. Navy's Nimitz-class carriers, runs 7 separate galleys. Each one serves a different part of the crew, enlisted sailors, chiefs, and officers, with its own menu, its own layout, and its own dedicated team behind it. And the people running those galleys are not regular cooks. They are culinary specialists, trained military professionals who went through 15 weeks of intensive schooling just to earn the right to feed a crew at sea. 15 weeks. That is longer than some college semesters. They study knife work, large-scale food preparation, advanced storage techniques, and most importantly, how to cook when the floor beneath your feet never stops moving. Because the ocean does not pause for dinner, 114 of those specialists work on a single carrier, around the clock, in 3 rotating shifts. There is no day off, there is no slow season. Every single day, that galley runs at a pace that would break most civilian kitchens. On a regular day, not a holiday, just a normal Tuesday at sea, that kitchen prepares 1,600 pounds of meat, 350 pounds of lettuce, 160 gallons of milk, 30 cases of cereal, and 20,000 cups of coffee. The daily grocery bill on the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, runs between $45,000 and $65,000 per day. That's more than $1 million in food every single month just to keep the crew fueled and mission ready. Now on Thanksgiving, the scale goes even further. But here is what surprises most people. The preparation for Thanksgiving on an aircraft carrier does not start the week before. It does not even start the month before. It starts in spring, and the reason why reveals just how complicated and how dedicated this entire operation truly is. The logistics, months in the making. The Defense Logistics Agency, the branch of the U.S. military responsible for supplying deployed forces worldwide, begins planning. Thanksgiving meals as early as spring. That is right. While most Americans are still firing up the grill for the 4th of July, the U.S. military is already ordering turkeys for November. Those supplies do not arrive in one clean delivery. They travel by cargo planes, military ships, and ground convoys to warehouses spread across the globe. From there, they get routed to military theaters in the Indo-Pacific, the Middle East, and Africa. Each location has its own delivery window its own security constraints, and its own set of challenges. For aircraft carriers specifically, there is an extra layer of difficulty. In many cases, the Thanksgiving supplies are loaded onto the ship before it even leaves port, before the sailors say their goodbyes, before the carrier crosses open water, because once you are out there, you cannot just call for a grocery delivery. The U.S. Navy estimates that across all its ships on a single Thanksgiving, roughly 45,000 pounds of roast turkey are served to sailors at sea. Add 11,457 pounds of mashed potatoes, 5,654 pounds of stuffing, and 23,678 assorted pies, just for the Navy alone. When you count every deployed U.S. troop around the world, soldiers, airmen, Marines, Guardians, the total weight of Thanksgiving food delivered to far-flung locations reaches approximately 700,000 pounds. 700,000 pounds of food shipped by military aircraft and cargo vessels to some of the most remote corners of the earth, just so a young sailor in the middle of the Pacific Ocean can have a plate of stuffing on Thanksgiving Day. Robin Whaley, the Defense Logistics Agency's chief of food supply for overseas customers, put it simply, food is emotional. We want to make sure that the soldiers, airmen, sailors, guardians, and Marines serving around the world have that taste of home on Thanksgiving Day. Food is emotional. That is not a line from a movie. That is a government official explaining why they spend months and millions making sure a sailor far from home gets a slice of pumpkin pie. The meal itself, Thanksgiving on the USS Nimitz. Now let's talk about what that Thanksgiving meal actually looks like on board, because the numbers are something else entirely. On the USS Nimitz, the Thanksgiving spread is nothing short of extraordinary. The centerpiece, as it is at every American table, is the turkey. But we are not talking about one bird from the grocery store. We are talking about 3,000 pounds of turkey. That is the equivalent of roughly 200 traditional-sized turkeys sitting at 200 different family tables across America, all prepared in a single kitchen, in a single day, on a ship in the middle of an ocean. Alongside that comes 2,500 pounds of mashed potatoes, creamy, hot, the real thing. 4,500 pounds of sweet potatoes prepared multiple ways, from traditional candied sweet potatoes dripping in brown sugar to more modern preparations that reflect the diverse backgrounds of the crew. And the dessert table? The dessert spread alone would stop most people in their tracks. Multiple pie varieties, cakes, and the single most requested item on the entire holiday menu, ice-cold eggnog. That eggnog requires special refrigeration throughout the entire deployment. It is just a drink. But to a sailor who has been at sea for months, it is so much more. It is the smell of December. It is a kitchen back home. It is their mother, their grandmother, their family. A simple seasonal beverage that carries more emotional weight than any other item on that menu. One tradition on the USS Nimitz that many people never hear about, the Culinary team names one of the special turkeys before the meal. Just a name. A small, quiet tradition. But it turns an industrial-scale food operation into something personal. Something that reminds everyone in that galley, and everyone being served, that this is not just a logistics exercise, it is a celebration. It is Thanksgiving. The meal itself runs from 2 in the afternoon to 6 in the evening, a 4-hour serving window designed so that every single sailor, no matter what watch rotation they are on, gets a chance to sit down and eat. Here is something that will genuinely surprise you. The meal is not even the most remarkable part of the day. There is an entire schedule of events that happens before and after the feast that turns a single holiday into something that feels like a full American celebration. And one of those events starts before most people on that ship are even awake. More than just food. The full day. On the USS Gerald R. Ford, during its first deployment Thanksgiving in 2023, the holiday morning started with a 5-kilometer turkey trot run directly on the flight deck. Think about that. A 5-kilometer run on a flight deck, in the early morning air, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. That flight deck stretches roughly 333 meters in length. Sailors ran laps in the salt air, wind off the open water, with fighter jets and aircraft parked around them just to start the holiday on a high note. Some ran it hard. Some walked it side by side with a shipmate, laughing and talking. But every single one of them started that day moving, together. After the run came cornhole tournaments in the massive hangar bay below, football on TV in the mess decks, and that evening, a cigar social on the fantail. The very rear of the ship. Open sky, open ocean. A group of Americans, far from home, sitting under the stars with no land in sight, celebrating a holiday that has meant something to this country since its earliest days. The MWR Department, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, plans every single one of these events. Their mission is straightforward. Sailors should not just eat well on the holidays, they should actually celebrate. Because a sailor who feels cared for is a sailor who performs at their best, stays sharp, and remains mission ready. Christmas at sea, the Ford's first holiday. It is not just Thanksgiving that gets this treatment. Every major holiday on a U.S. aircraft carrier is turned into something worth remembering. When the USS Gerald R. Ford spent its first Christmas at sea, an extended deployment that ran far beyond its original schedule due to military operations, the ships. Leadership did not let that dampen the spirit. They went all out. Hallways throughout the ship, called passageways in Navy language, were decorated with lights and ornaments. Christmas music filled the work centers. The flight squadrons painted Christmas themes directly onto several of the carrier's aircraft. Santa Claus was loaded into a helicopter and flown to every ship in the strike group so that no crew member in the entire battle group missed a visit. The schedule of events included an ugly sweater competition, a holiday door decorating contest between departments, Christmas socials with giveaways, and it all ended with a Christmas concert held in the hangar bay, the same enormous space where jet engines are normally serviced and weapons are loaded. Thousands of sailors packed into that hangar bay to watch their fellow crew members perform. No professional entertainers, no visiting band, just sailors. Men and women who had been away from home longer than planned, choosing to create something meaningful out of a hard situation. One sailor described it simply, "We all got extended. We're all in this together, and we're taking a situation that is not ideal and making it into something better." No bitterness, no complaint, just quiet resolve. Calling home, the most important moment. For all the food and all the events, the thing sailors consistently say they need most during the holidays is just a few minutes of privacy, a chance to call home. On a ship with 5,000 people, privacy is nearly impossible. Your bunk is barely wider than your shoulders. Your workspace is shared. Every meal, every workout, every conversation, shared. You are never truly alone. That is why the USO has built dedicated centers aboard several deployed carriers. And inside those centers, they installed something elegantly simple, soundproof phone booths. A sailor can step into one of those booths, close the door, and have a private conversation with their family for the first time in weeks or months. No background noise from the ship. No shipmates accidentally overhearing. Just a mother talking to her son. A husband talking to his wife. A young man calling his dad to wish him happy Thanksgiving. The USO has stated clearly that the ability to make that private call during the holidays is one of the single greatest morale factors for deployed sailors. It does not cost as much as a fighter jet or a guided missile, but its impact on the human beings who serve this country is immeasurable. The culinary specialists, the unsung heroes. There is one group of people who make everything on this list possible, and they almost never get the recognition they deserve. The culinary specialists. These are the men and women who wake up before the sun every single day, who went through 15 weeks of rigorous training, who, on Thanksgiving morning, are not sitting at their own family table watching the parade on TV. They are in the galley, slicing, seasoning, basting, and plating, so that their 5,000 shipmates can have one day that feels like home. The team on a carrier includes master chefs who oversee menu planning and quality control, bakers who work through the night crafting desserts, prep cooks who begin their day before most of the crew is awake, and servers who make sure every sailor who comes through that line feels genuinely welcomed, not just fed. One culinary specialist summed up the role perfectly. We're not just feeding people. We're creating memories and bringing a piece of home to the middle of the ocean. That sentence says everything about what these men and women do. And after their service, many of them walk off the ship with culinary skills that would make any restaurant in the country proud to have them on staff. What it all means. Here is the truth at the center of all of this. Every single person on that carrier volunteered to be there. They signed their name on a line, said goodbye to their families, and went to sea so that the rest of us could sit at our own tables without worry. They did not have to. They chose to. And they do not ask for much in return. A hot meal, a call home, a run on the flight deck in the morning air, a cigar under an open sky. One moment, just one, that feels like any other American holiday. The U.S. Navy works every year to give them that. 5,000 sailors, 7 galleys, 114 culinary specialists, months of logistical planning, 700,000 pounds of food shipped to the far edges of the earth, all so that a 20-year-old from a small town in Ohio, sleeping in a bunk barely wider than his shoulders, an ocean away from everyone he loves, can sit down on a Thursday in November and have a plate of mashed potatoes, a slice of turkey, and a cold cup of eggnog. If that does not say something powerful about the character of the people who serve this country, nothing will. Conclusion. The next time Thanksgiving comes around and you are sitting at your table with your family, there are 5,000 sailors doing the same thing, just above the waves, somewhere far out on the open ocean. They were there last year. They will be there next year. If this story moved you, hit the like button and subscribe. Stories like this one deserve to be heard, and this channel is just getting started.